In the 1950s, the distance between Ferrari's factory in Maranello and Maserati's factory in Bologna was a mere 43 kilometers, about 27 miles. The distance in their approach towards racing, however, could not have been more different, despite similar designs and construction methods of their machines. In the late 1940s, just after the end of World War II, Ferrari went with an all-new design for their small displacement sports racers. These utilized V12 engines and 5-speed gearboxes, which was quite novel for the time. While the engine had initial reliability issues, these were soon sorted out. The same could not be said for their new 5-speed gearbox, which is both fragile and less than user-friendly. Maserati relied initially on their pre-war GP and sports race cars, which utilized inline, single and twin-cam 6-cylinder engines of 1.5 and 2-liter displacement. Both Ferrari and Maserati made similar moves in the early 1950s towards inline twin-cam 4-cylinder race cars. Ferrari released their new 500 F2, Mondial, and Monza and Testarossa models, all with 2 to 3-liter twin-cam 4s, while Maserati shifted away from their 6-cylinder A6 series of racers to their all-new twin-cam 4-cylinder 150 and 200S and SI models. By the mid-1950s, Maserati again shifted the Formula One and sports racing efforts towards racers with an all-newly designed twin-cam 6s. Their legendary 250F would earn them their final Formula One championship at the hands of the maestro himself, Juan Manuel Fangio. The 250F has been rightly given the title as the greatest front-engine Grand Prix car ever designed. Maserati expanded the design of the 250F, transforming it into their most famous sports racer, their incredible 300S. After the debut of both the 250 and 300S, Ferrari once again shifted their attention back to the 12-cylinder racers, now with far more reliable 4-speed gearboxes. Their new 250 Testarossa being the most famous of their new machines, but it was vastly inferior to the 300S, which easily outhandled and outbraked the best Ferrari had come up with until the end of the decade, when financial problems at Maserati put an end to their factory race team. This particular 300S Maserati is chassis number 3069. This was the 19th of the 26 examples completed. It was completed for the factory team on December 20th, 1956. The factory team cars utilized a different chassis than the client cars. The factory team cars had a far more robust and reinforced design for their frames. There were other subtle differences, including a magnesium steering box. Chassis 3069 was initially fitted with an experimental fuel-injected system. The car was specifically built for the 24 Hours Le Mans in 1957 as a factory entry, but because of financial difficulties, Maserati canceled their sports racing program, focusing all their efforts on their 250F, with hopes of winning the World Championship that final season. It was not until June of 1957 that Chassis 3069 made its debut race. This was at the Portuguese Grand Prix, where it was entered by the Maserati factory team for Juan Manuel Fangio. Fangio would go on to take a first overall finish in the car, easily beating out Maston Gregory and Phil Hill and all of the other factory team drivers for Ferrari. The car would then go on to race 3 more times with Fangio, and in each race he would also take first overall. An incredible string of 4 races in a row and 4 first-place finishes by the World Championship driver for that season. After Fangio's 4 incredible first-place finishes with Chassis 369, the car was sold to its first private owner. The car would go on to race from 1957 till 1971, an incredible 15 years, in more than 25 different races. It remained competitive longer than any other Maserati in the history of the company. In the early 1980s, this treasured Maserati was sold to its first European owner. The car was sold to the UK, where it was restored, and then it was later sold to an Italian named Count Vittorio Zanin, a very famous Ferrari and Maserati collector. Zanin was unhappy with the original coachwork that had been put on the car in the United Kingdom, and he sent it back to FANTUZZI in Italy. The car was then given a new body, a correct body, by FANTUZZI, and it became the last project that he worked on before he passed away in 1986. Chassis 3069 would pass through the hands of several prominent collectors over the next 30 years. The car would participate in a variety of different historic rallies and races, including 4 times at the Mille Miglia Historic Rally, as well as the Ferrari Maserati Historic Challenge, where it came within 1 point of winning the championship. Today, Chassis 3069 is an incredible vehicle of originality and authenticity. All of the frame, 100% of the frame and chassis is completely original. All of the brakes, suspension, transaxle, dry sump tank, fuel tank, rear transaxle and the differential with the Didion rear suspension are completely original to the vehicle. The exterior coachwork, as noted, was the second Fantuzzi body that was fitted to the vehicle, and the car is fitted today with engine 3058, a sister Maserati 300S. Engine number 3058 was fitted originally to Maserati 300S 3058, which was a vehicle that was given to Maston Gregory for a series of races beginning in December of 1955. He raced the car at Palm Springs, where he took a 2nd overall in the preliminary race, and then in the main race he took a 1st overall. He also raced at the Nassau Tourist Trophy race to a 3rd overall, and he raced at Torrey Pines Road Race, where he took a 1st overall. He then ran it at Willow Springs and Palm Springs again, finishing always on the podium. Today, Maserati 300S 3069 includes a large collection of spare parts. Included in those is engine number 3071 and a very, very rare 5-speed transaxle. Both are completely rebuilt with 0 running time on them. Maserati 300S 3071 was originally given to Juan Manuel Fangio in 1957 for the Cuban Grand Prix, where he took a 1st overall finish. The car then appeared at the 12 Hours of Sebring, where it was driven by Sterling Moss to a 2nd overall. The car was then handed off to Carroll Shelby and driven 15 times with numerous first-place finishes.